In this episode, I'm going to walk you through the key elements that helped us to be ready to raise capital from retail investors across the world. And when I say across the world, literally, people in the diaspora, US, UK, Europe, and people from Ghana were able to invest in the different campaigns that we had. Now, the question is, what were the key elements that we had to get in order before we could raise from retail investors? And in this video, I'm going to walk you through, on a very high level, these key elements, and details of it will be in the subsequent videos that you can now, have in the next lessons. So to start with was the issuer information. When you say an issuer is the one raising capital, is a term used in the capital markets. You are issuing to raise. Now, our platform can support all kinds of instruments, and the regulation supports about 15 different kinds. Anything between equity and between debt, the regulation supports that. But it starts with the issuer. The issuer is you, the business. And it's very important to know that the regulations require that only registered businesses can raise capital through investment crowdfunding or through crowdfunding. Now, don't mix this up. Donation crowdfunding is not investment crowdfunding. Donation crowdfunding is what you do when you go to church or somebody's sick or there's a funeral and you want to give some money. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about investment crowdfunding, where people are investing for either a return in profit or in profit share, revenue share, equity, royalties, different structures of it, where there's some form of exchange in value. So the first thing is the issuer, onboarding, and that's very critical. What's so critical about it? You have to be a properly registered business, and you must have all your articles of incorporations set. It's very important. All the articles of incorporation. So when you go register the company, the things that are required from you, and also your addresses and all that information, we're going to go into details of that. But the issuer is very key because it's based on the issuer that background checks will be done to make sure the issuer is in the right state to be able to raise capital from the public. The next is the director details, and this is very, very important. The people who are actually behind the business will be looked at. They will be looked at, their backgrounds will be checked and all that. And once again, in the next video, we're going to the details of what goes in there. You may make sure that you have good directors who are competent enough to run the business and to execute. And we're going to look at making sure that you have the right elements for, providing the details and information for these directors to be checked. Then the next one is the financial reports. So whether you're a 1-year company or you are a 2-year company, the financial reports are key, and depending on your stage in the years of existence, different things will be looked at. But you want to make sure that you have financial records of your business. A lot of early stage businesses take that for granted, but if you're going to raise from investment crowdfunding, you really want to make sure your financial records are there so that you can pass the financial due diligence very quickly. Then you have also the compliance documents. The compliance documents some can be industry specific, some can be as simple as a work permit within the area you're working, or alliances within the space that you're working. So these compliance documents are critical to enable you to successfully raise capital from retail investors from the market. And you must make sure that these compliance documents are ready, because without them you would have some challenges. Then you have the project details. This is where you come into the project itself. Whether you're raising debt for a particular activity or equity, that's where all the details of the project is going to sit in. And you need to make sure you craft it clearly, visibly, because all the information you are providing is going to what we call a prospectus. And that's going to be used by investors to make a decision. Then after the project details, the sixth being the investment instrument. And we talked about this in the beginning. Is it equity or is it debt? Or is it anything in between it? Is it profit share, revenue share? Is it convertible note or convertible debt? Whatever it is. Depending on the type of instrument you're using, it has to be clear so that retail investors or individuals know how they're going to get their money or their returns back. And we will look at the different structures and options, and we will advise what we think works within the context of Ghana and what people typically like. Then the seventh is the funding amounts and if there are any guarantees. And this is where you now begin to talk about the money you need. Because from the project, you would have made a case and shown exactly how much you need to execute. So that's where you begin to talk about the funding amounts, what you need, and what you're going to use it for. And that's where the meat of the whole prospectus sits. And it's very critical that you have that one clear. It's easy for anyone to understand, because it's going to be that financial requirements, or that portion that's going to be used to design how you will raise your capital, and what will be the minimum amount that anyone can put in. So the funding amount is going to be very key. And then we'll finish off with the investment terms and the accounts. Investment terms, that the terms governing the amount you are raising, and the account within which your funds will be settled. Now, once all these things, we go through all these things in detail, and there are specific lessons for each of these things I've said, you would have positioned yourself to be able to raise, because as we go through each of the lessons, you'll be able to prepare your documents and make sure everything is in the right state to be able to apply and simply raise. Once you have all the key documentations and the business sounds and the model works, you can easily raise from on the platform, which is embedded in MTN. As I said in a previous video, MTN has about 20 million wallet holders who are looking for where to deploy their capital. So this is a great opportunity for you as a business, and join me in the next set of lessons to go through every stage step by step. And as we go through, you identify the things that you have missing in your business, you put it together so that as you begin your application process, you can seamlessly go through it, both legal, due diligence, transactional advisory, and we have teams that are there to support you to make sure everything you're doing is in place. But I can't wait to see you on the next video as we go into the details of each and every one of this, so that you can also raise your capital to grow. But before we end, I want to say investment crowdfunding does not require you to have a guarantee for retail investors before you can put in, or to have a fixed asset. They are trusting that you have a great business, and they are making a decision by themselves to share the risk or the reward of your business. So you want to make sure that your business is well positioned. But this is where it gets exciting. When you have some form of collateral, it makes it even exciting for investors to put more capital into your business. So we're going to go through all these things, and we're going to help you understand them, so that by the time you are preparing and the intermediary begins to look at your business, it will be ready and it will be on point to go through the process. Thank you, and see you in the next video. See you soon. Bye-bye.